Pokemon Day 2026 is just a few weeks away, and we're gonna break down what you can expect from the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. We're teeing up for the best year of Pokemon ever with the 10th generation of Pokemon games on their way. But before we talk about what's to come, let's discuss the major reveals over the last few years to point us in the right direction. In 2019, Pokemon revealed the Sword and Shield starters and the Galar region, Grookey, Sobble, and Scorbunny. This was the transition to the Nintendo Switch and focused around a new region and generation. Pokemon Go ran some major events tied to Kanto as usual. They really like to go hard on nostalgia, there's no doubt about that. 2020 was a bit of a drought. We got a DLC revealed a bit earlier in January, but honestly, this is the exception, not the rule. 2021 is probably the best year to look at. This was the 25th year of the Pokemon franchise. We're headed towards the 30th year this year. The 25th year included a huge music project with Post Malone, heavy nostalgia-focused marketing, and two mega new titles. This was unprecedented. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and of course Legends Arceus, piggybacking each other just a few months apart. We had never seen this before, them releasing and announcing two big main series games, and this was huge, and I think could actually set the stage for what we can expect out of the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise. Is it finally time for Unova remakes? That would go so hard. They didn't stop there because 2022 brought us Scarlet and Violet, new starter Pokemon Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxly, and of course a new generation to boot. An update for Legends Arceus, some Pokemon Unite and Go updates, but the real highlight here was the new starters, and that's a theme with these Pokemon Presents. 2023 gave us Scarlet and Violet DLC and more Generation 9 support. Nothing too crazy. 2024 was a bridge year yet again, but it gave us Legends ZA and Pokémon Pocket, and 2025 was huge to set the stage for what's to come in 2026. Legends ZA starters and ultimately Pokémon Champions announced for the first time. As we head towards Pokemon Day in just a few weeks, there's a handful of massive announcements we can expect, and some surprises that maybe we won't expect. The first one through our Terra leaks is pretty obvious. Pokemon Generation 10. Wind and Waves, as many people are calling it. We've covered the leaks pretty extensively at this point, and you can check the links in the description below if you want to dive a little bit deeper, but we're expecting this new generation to take place in a region based on Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and maybe even Australia. Charles Darwin has a potential big influence here as maybe the inspiration for the professor, and we're expecting diverse exploration focus. Traversing through jungles and deep sea environments will be a big piece of the Generation 10 Pokemon games. The legendary Pokemon based on the Wind and Wave Grandma and Grandpa, and some really interesting folklore I think they're going to tie in, alongside new models for various Pokemon like Charizard, Pikachu, and more. And with the reveal coming on Pokemon Day, it seems almost inevitable that new starter Pokemon will be revealed. I wouldn't get too carried away with an extensive gameplay trailer. They like to kind of drip feed us some of this information, but I do fully expect new starters to be revealed on Pokemon Day 2026. There's a handful of other titles that could come as well. Pokemon Champions being a big one. They've been pretty silent on it for quite a while. There's a chance that Pokemon Champions shadow drops on Pokemon Day, which would be crazy. I think a little unlikely, but I do think we will finally get a release date for Pokemon Champions, which will allow players an opportunity to connect online as a battle simulator and gamify the battles of the Pokemon franchise. Increasingly important since Legends ZA broke the formula a little bit and ultimately created the new battle system. I think a lot of players will be excited to bring their Megas and Dynamaxing and who knows what else in Pokemon Champions. So look for a release date, some more game footage, and probably a summer release, although don't rule out the shadow drop. Pokopia is a game that I'm quite excited for that's set to release on March 5th, so expect there to be a big segment of this presentation focusing on Pokopia. This is going to be a big deal for them as they kind of are hybridizing Animal Crossing meets Minecraft at a time where those two games have done incredibly well, and I think there's a pretty big appetite for this. I never would have thought that Pokopia would be a game that I would be excited for, but believe it or not, I'm excited, and I plan to sink my teeth into it in a huge way. The game looks fun, relaxing, and honestly, I've become a fan of cozy games as I get older, and I've got kids, and I'm not going to hand my kids Fortnite, so we're playing Animal Crossing instead. We much prefer that style of game around here. There's going to be some buzz around your Pokemon Unites, and of course, Pokemon Pocket, and there may even be tie-ins to the Generation 10 of Pokemon. They are going to release new starters potentially, and they may even sneak them into Pokemon Go. I wouldn't write it off. They've done some zany things, and 30 years is nothing to scoff at. I wouldn't be surprised if they go really hard. And that's where we get to some curveballs or potential hot takes that may or may not happen. I mentioned Unova Remakes Generation 5 coming to the table. I think it's very unlikely that they're going to reveal 2 games that are main series games, with Generation 10 theoretically coming out in November this year. But hey, listen, anything's possible. We do know that there is a Legends Galar game in the works, and that's probably where they're going to put their efforts for Generation 5, but it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to set the stage with an early 2027 release of the Unova Remakes. Black and White 3, anybody? I'd be pretty stoked for that, although, again, I wouldn't hold your breath on that one. Based on leaks, we know that Pokemon is also developing kind of an MMO experience where players are going to be able to connect online. This is a super ambitious project and may have been scrapped by now, but we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't expect any reveals or discussions about that. I think the focus will be Generation 10. However, one thing that players have asked for quite a long time is getting some of the older games ported to the new consoles. And this is where Pokemon has a chance to win over the Pokemon fandom in a massive way. They have an extensive library of titles like Coliseum games, as well as old school games like Fire Red, Leaf Green, and even before that, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Gold and Silver. So many of these games that are no longer feasible for the average player to obtain. You can't get the cartridges, a lot of the times the batteries are worn, or those cartridges are just really expensive, and the consoles are kind of hard to find nowadays if you're not someone like me and has a ton of capture cards. So it wouldn't be surprising to see them exploring some sort of classic type collection releasing on the eShops. This feels like a money printer for the Pokemon franchise and blows my mind the fact that they haven't already done this yet. I wouldn't expect too many other curveballs from that. We've got a pretty clear lineup of Generation 10 sequentially coming to set the foundation of the rest of the franchise. More trading cards, more anime, more characters for Pokemon Unite and Pokemon Go and beyond. It makes sense. Generation 10's coming, whether you like it or not, and we're likely to get those starter reveals. Pokopia will get some trailer and some focus, and it'll be really interesting to see how they integrate new forms like Pikachu and Mosslags. Total curveball there. And of course, Pokemon Champions is something to look out for as we head towards the 30th year of Pokemon history. Pokemon Champions, a way for people to battle in such a cool way. I fully expect more details there, and of course a release date. I'm super stoked about Gen 10. I really want to get some new starters and some new Pokemon. That's what gets me excited. I'm back in a big way. I hope you guys are stoked too. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are you looking forward to most for Pokemon Day 2026? Do you think I missed something? Do you think something else is coming? What games are you gonna pick up? I'm very excited to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. And you can check out my other videos about Pokemon Wind and Waves, the leaks, and everything in between in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.